What we wanted to do on tonight's show, we're going to get a little creative here, but I
Mhm.
thought it was an interesting exercise that you came up with. We're going to take a look at this year's team and see if we can find some sort of comparable to a year gone by for the Islanders. So I don't necessarily think it has to be like, hey, they finished with, I think they're going to finish with 82 points this year. And here's a year they finished with 82. I think it's more vibes wise, right? That's where I'm
Absolutely.
going. So do you want to get us started here with the year that you are going to bring up?
Yeah, I first wanted to just when I was thinking about what we could do today for the show, it is for all the people who follow European soccer. It's transfer deadline day today, so they are allowed to buy and sell players. And I remember we did this last year where we tried to do a transfer deadline day show, and it bombed hard. We gave it a shot, but it just didn't work. And so I thought about that again today, going like, no, we're not going to do that. It did not work. This one I think will work because it's more conducive to hockey. It makes a lot more sense. And again, it's not trying us to say like this year is going to be like year X. It's going to be, as you said, the vibes in year X are similar to this year. And before I just like blurt out an answer, because we do have time to fill, so let's fill that time. I want to kind of go through the process that I had to figure out what year might fit. As we know, we missed the playoffs last year. We just missed it. But we also have to understand, like going into this season, playoffs isn't a must. So when you look into next, like comparable, you can't go into be like, it has to be a make it or break it year. That's not going to be the case for the season. So take those years out of the equation. You also have to include pushing for the future, right? So, and when I looked, to define that, I was really looking at big drafts in terms of like multiple firsts and or a lot of prospects taken, right? Because that shows you an investment into the future by the management, whether it's a future today with, multiple firsts or tomorrow with multiple picks. There's another criteria. And then it was the future still isn't 100% there yet, right? Because as it's going to be this year, we might have multiple firsts, but it's not like Eklund or Aitchison are going to be in the team. Heck, we don't even know if Schaefer is going to be in the team. So that's kind of my mindset in terms of comparables. Did you have other ones that you had as far as the checklist?
So those are all ones that I considered also, but to throw on top of that, I was looking at how the team was structured with like roster players was one. I don't want to give too much away because
Sure.
I might like it might become obvious what team I'm looking at, but I was trying to find like, okay, I view this year's team as structured like this, and what other teams were similarly structured that way.
Right. So for me, now I'll give it away. And I think we might end up with the same one. It's 2009, 2010.
No. Okay.
Oh, yes. Okay. We got the post John, or not post. Yeah. The post John Tavares draft, right? The 09 draft. We make multiple first round picks. We take Tavares. We take the Han. We take 7 prospects there. And I kind of stretched my definition of like pushing for the future because I included the previous draft as well. Right. In 2008, not only do we take Josh Bailey in the first round and we move down twice to get him, but we take 13 prospects in that draft. So over those 2 years in 08 and 09, we take 20 goddamn kids. That's a huge investment in the future. But you also have that there's a really old core there. And by old, I really mean like they're old players. There are 10 players above the age of 29 in that 09 2010 team. And obviously we already know like some of the players there. I don't know why I still don't have that open. We can get it back up again. The Islanders roster in terms of those old players, just so I can list them off by age. So Dwayne Rollison was 40. He played 50 games that year. That's insane for a goalie.
Yeah.
Doug Waite, Andy Stanton, Brendan Witt, and then Richard Park, all 33 or more. And then, Radek Martinez. So not insanely old, but clearly an old, veteran core of players. And then you have the younger core guys. That's what we're going to have with guys like Schaefer probably. And you got Tavares, Bailey, and Okposo there.
I like that one. And I'm glad that it's not the one that
chose,
just so that it could be a little bit different. The first thing when you mentioned that jumped out was they had a first overall pick, right?
Yeah.
And John Tavares coming in, and that was his first year. And assuming Matthew Schaefer makes the NHL team, which both Mitch and I are pretty bullish on the chances of that happening.
Yeah.
There may be some similarities. Also, they finished with 79 points that year, right? Yes, they did.
So like I was at 482 points percentage, I think it was that year. So just below 500 to say, really.
Right. And I think we've both kind of been on that they're going to be around 500, maybe a little bit better potentially than 500. So
Maybe.
79 might be a touch low, but it's not like crazy. If the Islanders finish with 79 points this year, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, like that. Where did the hell did that come from? Right? Like, okay, it's it's slightly worse than I thought that they were going to be, whatever. But good call out also on the old players that were already there, a first overall, and then some of the other guys who were either just starting to get their footing, like Josh Bailey, who was a first rounder from the year prior, and some other guys in the system who hadn't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah. So yeah, you got your Calvin DeHaans, who is my best friend. Kyle Okposo, right, was on the team. I think he was 21 or 22. And then you still have Anders Lee. Like obviously the Anders Lee's reputation, let's say, wasn't as high as someone like Keishon Aitchison or even Victor Eklund, but he turned into a hell of a hockey player, even though he was drafted in the 6th round. You got Case Zizekas, Matt Martin is already in the lineup, or not in the lineup, but at least in the system. Like there's depth in the system coming up. So I thought that the comparables were all there. There are other years that I looked at in terms of drafts where like, I don't know if you can hear it, this massive helicopter flying over my house.
I thought it like the air conditioner just turned on or something. I
don't even have one. I had a helicopter. That wild. Anyways, there are other drafts that I looked at. In 97, we take 2 first-round picks. We take 11 prospects. Not the same type of team. 99, 4 first-round picks, 14 picks taken, but like 99, like I don't know about that. Obviously, 2000 with DiPietro Torres and 10 prospects, and then 2009 were the ones that I really, really kind of focused on. But I think 2009 hit all the check boxes.
Okay.
I feel you've taken obviously something different than the ones that I've listed here. And I'm curious to see which one you went with.
Yeah. So I didn't put as much of a focus on the draft that just previously happened, which is good. Like, I'm glad that you did that because I think it shows the two different sides. And again, like, I don't think this is necessarily a 1-for-1 comparison, nor do I think what was their point percentage this year. It's definitely better than what I think they're going to finish with. Yeah, it is. I'll reveal it in a second once I say the year here. But the thing that I was really focusing on for me was a team with a mix of both young players and some core guys that were towards the end of their Islanders tenure, or guys on very short-term stints with the Islanders or with the team. And I landed on the 2012-13 Islanders. Okay. Where you have the young guys. John Tavares is 22, now a little bit more established, right? But you have Matt Molson, 29, wasn't on the team 2 years later. Same with, I just messed up my sort here, so I apologize. Give me a second. I got to pull it back up on the names that I was looking at. Brad Boyes, 1 year kind of thing, where the Islanders just signed a bunch of 2-year deals. Franz Nielsen was there for a little bit. Mark Streit, that was his last year with the Islanders, I believe. Or he might have did one more after that. Oposo would be around. Bailey would be around. But then you had guys like Wisnowski, who was only there for a couple years as an older veteran. And it was a little bit before guys like Lee and Nelson and Strome came up. That was really 2 years later. And I feel like the Islanders are probably 2 years away from like all their young guys kind of taking over. And then the versions of Molson and Boyes and Wisnowski's, you could insert maybe like a JG Pajot and Anders Lee and Tony DeAngelo as kind of those veteran placeholders who are on the team now. Now, the Islanders that year finished with a 573 points percentage year, and we're a playoff team. I don't think they're going to finish with a 573, although that would put them at 94 points, which would be pretty nice. And they made the playoffs in 2024 with that same exact points percentage. But again, for me, it was kind of looking at it. Yes, 2012-13 was fun because it very much so felt like that team way overachieved.
Yeah.
but they didn't really hit their stride until 2 years later. They have the 101-point season, and like I said, Strome comes in, Brock Nelson comes in, Anders Lee comes in, and they start to get the younger group, that next wave of Islanders.